In this video, I'm going to show you how to make some crying tiger beef with a delicious Thai dipping sauce, also known as Nam Chim Jaew. So let's dive right in. So I've got a grass-fed, grass-finished beef sirloin flap steak. It's about 2.5 pounds, and I just cut it kind of in half here. So in the marinade, I'm going to put some cilantro stems, just the stems. I'm just gonna chop this up, and I'm gonna save the leaves for garnish. We're also going to use a clove of garlic, and we're gonna throw it right into this mortar and pestle. So about half a cup of cilantro stems, 1 clove of garlic. Then I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of black peppercorns. I'm also going to add 2 teaspoons of palm sugar. You could use regular sugar as well. Now I'm just going to pound it. If you don't have a mortar and pestle, of course it's fine. You can use a food processor. You could even just chop everything up, and that sugar will dissolve as well in the rest of the marinade that we're going to do. Once this is mashed up to a fine paste, I'm just going to scoop it out, put it in another bowl or liquid measuring cup. Now for the rest of the marinade, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of regular soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of fish sauce. This is my favorite brand, Red Boat. It's like the best quality first pressed fish sauce, but anything will do. I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of olive oil and half a teaspoon of ground coriander. Now I'm just going to mix it up. Now I'm just going to pour the marinade right over the flap steak. Going to spread this all out so all the meat gets into the marinade. You could also use a Ziploc bag as well. And of course, if your flap steak isn't this big, you could cut the ingredients for the marinade. So marinate this for at least 1 hour or overnight in the fridge. Now for the Nam Chim Jaew dipping sauce, we're going to toast about a tablespoon of sticky rice, or you can use jasmine rice. Now this is just completely raw. This is going to be, we're going to be toasting it and then grinding it into a fine powder. So we're going to turn on the heat. Keep an eye on this. Just want to keep moving it around so it doesn't burn. So it's been about 4 minutes. Once we get this nice brown, we're going to turn off the heat because there's still residual heat in the pan. And don't leave it in the pan or else it's going to continue to cook. We're just going to put it in a separate bowl. Now I'm going to grind the toasted rice in my mortar and pestle. You could totally use a grinder, spice grinder as well. I'd say that's a fine enough powder. Now I'm just going to take it out, and then we're going to set this aside. I've got some lemongrass here, just the tender parts. I actually buy it when I can find it, and then I just freeze it. I cut them up and I freeze it. So I would say maybe this is like 1 stalk. Now I'm just going to just thinly slice it. And if you can't find lemongrass, don't worry, the dipping sauce is still going to taste good. Make sure you have a sharp knife. I'm going to throw the sliced lemongrass in the mortar. Now I'm going to pound the lemongrass until I have a coarse fibrous paste for at least 45 seconds. The pounded lemongrass smells so amazing. Lemongrass is so fragrant. I'm just going to take it out of the mortar and place it in this measuring cup. You totally just put it in a medium bowl. Next to the dipping sauce, we are going to add 2 tablespoons of Thai fish sauce, 1.5 tablespoons of Thai thin soy sauce. This is what the bottle looks like. You can get it at the Thai market or your Southeast Asian market as well. 3.5 tablespoons of lime juice, or the juice of 1 medium lime. Make sure it's juicy. 3 teaspoons or 1 tablespoon of palm sugar. If you don't have palm sugar, you could use any kind of sugar you'd like. 1 teaspoon of prikbon, toasted chili powder. If you don't have this, you can use chili flakes. And 1 tablespoon of water. Now we're gonna mix it all up. Make sure that palm sugar dissolves. If you let it sit, it'll just dissolve on its own. So this makes about a half a cup of namjim Jaew. Now I'm going to put it in the fridge for at least an hour. Trust me, it's gonna get even better. So it's been about an hour since I've marinated the meat. The other half I put in the fridge to eat for tomorrow. I've got my pellet grill preheated on high, nice and hot. Hear that sizzle. I'm going to close my pellet grill because it's like freezing outside and the temperature is going down in the grill. So I'm gonna close it up. I'm gonna give this a flipperoo. It's been about 5 minutes. Just wanted to get that nice char there. I am going to close it back up now that I flipped it. All right, it's been about 5 minutes. I'm just cooking my flap steak to medium rare. So I brought the steak back in, and just a little tip, having a thermometer really helps. So I like having my steak medium rare, and that ranges from 130 to 140 degrees. So this reads about 138, which is perfect. If you want to cook yours longer, you can go ahead and do that. But having a thermometer, I love this one. It's by Thermapen. It's like one of the best ones. It's gonna last you forever. I've allowed the flap steak to rest for at least 10 minutes. Now I'm going to slice it and plate it up. It smells so good, that marinade. Get it right on the plate. Let's make a little space for the dipping sauce. Put it right there. Now I'm going to add that toasted rice powder. That's the last thing you want to add. Add as much as you'd like. I've got my chopped cilantro. Top that off in here as well. And a little bit of garnish. There you go. There is your crying tiger beef with namjim Jaew. Let's give it a taste. Get that rice powder in there. Whew. There's some heat to that. My mom actually made this toasted chili powder for me. She got dried chilies and then roasted it herself in the oven, then grinded it. And wow, I did not know how spicy that is. Taste your chili flakes before you put them in. The toasted rice powder is really what gives the namjim Jaew that flavor, that distinct Jaew flavor. So I definitely would not skip it. Make sure you only add it in the end because it's going to absorb some of that liquid. You can always substitute the flap steak for your choice of steak. Ribeye, New York steak, any kind of steak you like. I just happen to have some flap steak, which does really well when it's marinated. I hope you enjoyed this crying tiger beef recipe, and this namjim Jaew recipe is a rendition from Andy Ricker's Pok Pok book, and I love his book so much. His restaurant was great. He really is, he knows legitly his stuff, you know, traveling to Thailand. Cooking Thai food at home can be intimidating, but once you have all the ingredients, putting it together is quite simple. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed to me yet, go ahead and click subscribe. If you really enjoyed this recipe, please give it a thumbs up and click the notification bell so you can get notified when I release new videos weekly.